We've got some guests in the studio. Would you gentlemen care to introduce yourselves? We'll start with you, sir. You seem to be the authority figure here.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm Nick Stangey, and I am the teacher, one of the teachers of the Harlem Veterans Project.
Nick, good to see you this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, no problem.
And young man?
I'm Carson Menke. I'm a senior at Harlem High School.
Nice. See a Navy hat on.
Yeah.
What's the significance?
There's no significance, just to represent the military.
Just to represent the military. All right. For people who are not familiar, now you've been on with us. It's been a while since we've talked about the Veterans Project, but give people a thumbnail on what exactly it is.
Yeah, basically what we do is we have veterans come in. It originally started with World War II veterans about 6 years ago, and we have them come in and we actually record their interview with the audio and video, and the students do everything pretty much. I just turn on the lights and make sure the camera's plugged in and let the students go. So they ask the veterans questions, and we've now branched out to Korean War, Vietnam, and we've even done some Afghan and Persian Gulf War vets. And the students interview them, and then the following school year, what happens is every student in the class gets an individual, and their task is to take that typically about a 90-minute raw interview and make it into a 30 to 45-minute documentary. So all our interviews go off to the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, and then all our documentaries end up online at the Illinois Community and Classroom Project, as well as our own Harlem Veterans Project YouTube page.
I was going to say, because I know you guys are represented on YouTube, so for people after we talk here and go, I'd like to see some of this stuff, you can go right over to YouTube and go with Harlem Veterans Project as as your search term?
Yep, just search that, and then you'll see the video that we did for the White House thing will show up, and then just click on our page, and then we have all our docs from last year, and we're starting to get all our docs that we've done overall. Over 120 docs we've created.
That's great.
Over our times.
Now, did you get the ball rolling on this? Did you pick this up after it had already been rolling? What was the genesis of the idea?
The idea originated, the World War II veterans built a memorial down in Springfield, and they actually had money left over. Probably one of the few times
that doesn't happen very often.
So they decided and realized how important it was to capture these stories. So there was a grant. Me and Mr. Boyce, or Jeremy Boyce, who's now an administrator, we put in for the grant. We got it, and it originally started with about 5 kids. Mr. Boyce then moved up to administration, and then Kira Noonan took over for him, kind of kicked me in the butt. And then next thing we know, we had 8 students that excelled, and then the class has grown to about 30, in between 30 and 40 students every year for the last 5 years.
That's got to be intensely rewarding for you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's changed my life personally as well as professionally. I mean, it's one of those classes when you're having a tough day in other classes, you go in there and then everything changes. I mean, the kids become totally invested. The bond that's created between the students and the veterans has been outstanding. You know, for Carson over here, the bond that he created with his vet last year, Mr. Scott, you know, it makes it all worthwhile.
Fill us in on that, Carson. Tell us about Mr. Scott and what transpired with you guys.
Well, at first, I guess I was just a little nervous to contact him and talk to him. And then after watching his documentary so many times and working on it so long and then meeting him, finally, I got to know him a little better. And then I ended up actually hanging up at his house and listening to more of his crazy stories.
That's outstanding. Give us some background on him. What conflict and all that?
He was a pilot in World War II, and it was an interesting story because it took him some time to get to that position because he had lied about a couple things to get into the military.
Yeah, this was pretty common then.
Had a couple military arrests and some interesting stories there, and stealing planes and just going flying.
Which they frown on, from what I understand. Yeah.
And then he finally made it to the position where he could fly, and then he would do scouting missions and overlook islands and see like if there was any Japanese storage or things on the movement.
So he was living on the edge there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Now, how much time in total did you spend on Mr. Scott and your piece on him?
Well, after I did the math one day, and I would spend about 14 hours at school a day, and I would stay really late working on my doc.
Wow.
But I'm a really slow worker, so that could just a personal thing.
Go with meticulous instead of slow. Yeah, you're a meticulous worker. Yeah, you know, it means you still take your time, but you make sure everything is right while you do it. And obviously, you made it right. Now, what did he think of the finished product?
They loved it. They were super impressed with it.
Yeah, enjoyed how he was represented and all that. Now, what does this mean for you in the future? Is this something that you see yourself doing down the line? Production of documentary, interview with living history books? Is this something that you're going to take with you and apply to other things?
I mean, I'd love to stay a part of the program as I get older, but I would say filmmaking maybe as a hobby on the side, but I plan to go into business and entrepreneurship and something like that.
Excellent. Make a little money, then you can afford that hobby with the nice cameras and all that goes with that.
Yeah.
There you go.
And hopefully donate to the program.
Well, yeah, you'll want to once you're a big shot, pour the money back into the school for the
Give
program.
Stangey enough money so we can quit.
There you go. That's one way of looking at it. How do you get the subjects of these interviews? How do you go about? Because we were talking off the air. I know my dad, being a World War II veteran, would never have agreed to sit down with you guys, and not because he didn't like you or he thought you would. He just was not comfortable in telling the tale, as many guys are. Others are a little more comfortable, and some can tell it with a detachment that it's almost like they're talking about someone else.
Yeah, that's a great question. We started originally with a press release. So this is about maybe 4 years ago, and we found out there are a lot of veterans that are uncomfortable, but there's also a lot that are comfortable and actually came and spoke to us. And then I think the word of mouth has helped as well. Another thing that we have going for us is the students in the class. It's very hard to say no to a grandchild. So we get that avenue as well. So sometimes we get veterans who are kind of encouraged to come in by their family members, students in the class. I think our biggest reason, though, is just the word of mouth. We've been lucky to where all their interviews have gone very well. They share with other, they go back to the other veteran organizations, the VFW, share their story. And then we've gotten just a lot of people through that way. So our kids take it serious. So seeing that, we do a smaller environment. We don't bring them into class of 30, 40. We have about 5, maybe 8 kids at the most. So I think that makes a difference. We're prepared. We try to be as professional as we can be at that age for the students. So I think all that makes a difference, and they realize this is something that's serious. Well,
and professionalism aside, approaching this with your subject with earnestness is really the key to it. This isn't for self-aggrandizement. This is certainly not to ridicule or make someone look bad. This is really to get their perspective on things without anything else diluting it. This is really from their mouth to your camera.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for what it meant to them. So we're not trying to put words in their mouths. We're not trying to spin it one way or another. We want them to tell us what their experience was, and it's our job then to put that out there for people to understand. Because I think the best way to honor the veterans is to put out there what war was, what it is from their perspective. So we know as average citizens what it means when we're voting, election season, when our politicians are making these decisions, what it entails, what's the impact it has, not just the time they're there, but also the time once they come back. Because I think a lot of times in class, the war ends when you close that chapter, or the war ends when the newscast says the war is over, but that's not true. I mean, we've seen it with World War II veterans, Korean veterans, Vietnam. These, it might only be a year they were over there, but that year has dictated the rest of their life.
The seminal moment of their existence.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's hard to match up any other years of your life that would match up what you saw during that time frame, regardless of how short it may have been. Most intensely rewarding moment that you've had so far?
Oh, man.
So many to choose from?
I mean, the stories have been out. I mean, we've done over 150 interviews. And every story has something that sticks out. Right now, we're in the process of making a full-length documentary for the Beloit Film Festival, and that experience has been very rewarding. We're focusing very hard on kind of the impact of war after military life, and kind of dealing with our two main subjects there has really had an impact on me personally in that regards.
That's outstanding, which makes it easier for you then to discuss this subject matter with your students, I would think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these interviews and documentaries are now being used in the classroom, so which is great. I mean, then I can show a student, hey, this is created by a student who once was in your shoes, and from a gentleman who lives 2 blocks away from the high school. I mean, that's a little bit different than just looking at some random name in a textbook. So now all of a sudden we got the students invested, interested to it.
And we can tie it in with an actual person that we've spoken with.
Exactly.
Now, Carson, you did the piece with Mr. Scott, the World War II pilot. Just that one, or have you done others? Do you have others that you're going to do, or is this such a huge undertaking that you take on that one project and that's it?
Last year, I just made it. I made Doug Scott documentary, and then this year I have another one for Robert Mason that I'm currently working on. So
okay, so you've grabbed some skills the first time through. Know your way through with better going through the second time. That's outstanding.
So you get your interview at the start of the year, and then you work on it the entire year, and then at the end, when you when we have the gala, we present our documentaries to our veterans, and they have the disc in hand, and it's kind of like a rewarding moment that your years of work is a product right there in front of you for that person.
That's just really cool. I can't tell you how big a fan I am of what you're doing here. Now, for people who want to check out some of the work, what's the best way to do it? Go to your YouTube channel?
Yeah, YouTube channel is a great way to do it. The Illinois Veteran Community and Classroom Project. They have a channel as well where a lot of the docs are posted. But YouTube channel for the first way. Contacting us at the school. We could definitely send you some links if you're having trouble finding it through that.
Facebook page
has a link to it.
It's a little confusing because we do have 2 Facebook pages, but we're working on converting that.
That's right. Well, hit both of them. You know, you'll find the right one to get you the right information. This doesn't seem to be a class or a topic that has a shelf life. That we did this for a while, and now we're on to something else. As long as we've had conflicts and people coming back from them, you will have a target-rich environment for interviews, I would think.
Yes, unfortunately. It's a class that would continue to go on. We've really, 2 years ago, we started interviewing Vietnam veterans. We're up to about 30 or 40 of those interviews we've completed. Like I said earlier, we just interviewed a gentleman who was back from Afghanistan. Came back, I think, 2011-ish. So, yeah, we're just branching out. We've never turned down an interview. So if anybody's interested, just
I was just thinking, if you know somebody or you are someone who you would like to tell your tale, or at least sit down and be willing to answer some questions about it, get in touch with Harlem and be part of this Veterans Project. Because once you have gone, these are living history books. After that, you're going to be relegated to reading it out of a book or looking at work that was done way in the past rather than the continuing evolution and bringing people to the forefront. I love the idea that it's all recorded right there, and you get so much more out of it by hearing someone who was there talk about it than reading the account of their tale.
Yeah, to me, it provides that vivid detail of history that I can't give in a lecture or you can't get out of a book. Like I said, Doug Scott, Carson's vet here from last year, seeing the emotion that he had, knowing and him just trying to fight to get in that pilot seat.
Right.
And seeing that tears that he shared, that taught Carson more just in that 5-minute clip than I could do in a 45-minute lecture or him reading a book for 2 weeks could ever do. And that's really the magic of this stuff. Seeing a person's emotion on their face, having that 30-second pause, trying to think of how to respond to an answer, teaches you more than anything. And it's just amazing, the program. And I think the vets and the bond that's created between them is outstanding. And I think you can see some of that tonight, too, at the football game, because we're doing a Veterans Night at the football game. So
beautiful.
So we put flags out there. It's a kind of a mini fundraiser for us. We'll be selling some raffle tickets to kick a field goal at halftime, as well as some T-shirts. And we have Stewart's Coffee has actually made a veterans blend.
Nice.
Out there where 40% of all proceeds go back to the program. So.
Well, you want to make a real veterans blend, you got to brew it up in a helmet for them. That's the kind of coffee that veterans really remember, is that helmet coffee.
We'll see if Carson can put that together tonight for us. It seems like a good Carson
From what
project.
I understand, it's not very good, but so you might want to go with the stuff out of the pot anyway. But that's tonight. So show up, make your contribution, maybe kick a field goal, but buy some stuff and help out this project.
Yeah, in addition to that, it's going to be a great game. I mean, it's one of the pivotal games for the conference. Both Boylan and Harlem are undefeated, so we got the flags out. There'll be veterans there. The kids will be there. So should be a great environment. Looking forward to it.
Everybody wins. Nick, thanks a lot for coming in. Carson, and you as well. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I hope people avail themselves of the opportunity to get over and have a look at your YouTube channel. If you'd like to make a contribution to help the Veterans Project out, well, you wouldn't turn that down, would you?
Oh, no.
See, there you go. If you've got a little something extra that you would like to help them do more of this great work, well, then by all means, make your contribution. Guys, thanks a lot for coming in. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Too.